Today we're going to look at section 1-7, three-dimensional figures. In section 1-6 we were doing two-dimensional, so now we're going to be looking at these three-dimensional objects when it's going to ask you to find surface area and volume. So the first part here is kind of just definitions, and here's what you need to know. Polyhedrons, they are solid. They have flat surfaces, and they are enclosed. So, prisms, pyramids, those are polyhedrons. Not polyhedrons, cylinder, cone, and sphere. Why? Because they are not entirely flat. When you look at a cylinder, the whole side of it is not flat. The top and the bottom are, but the entire thing is not flat. So it's not a polyhedron. A cone, bottom's flat, that's it. A sphere, none of it's flat. Okay? When you're asked to name them, most of them you're familiar with. Triangular prism, rectangular prism, pentagonal prism, and then you've got your pyramids. Okay? We'll talk more about that later on. So, the first types of questions you might be asked is to determine if it's a polyhedron, then identify what it is, and if it is a polyhedron, name the bases, faces, edges, and vertices. Okay? So in this one, well, we know it's polyhedron, right? Every single side of it is flat. There's nothing rounded. This one, not a polyhedron. Okay? So the solid's formed by two polygonal faces, so it's polyhedron. There are two parallel rectangular bases. Bases would be M, P, O, N, and R, Q, T, S. Okay? Those are the important things you need to be able to find. So, cylinder, obviously not a polyhedron, but you can identify that it has two congruent or equal bases, so we know it's a cylinder. Okay, that's all they're asking for in questions like this. Take a look at this one, not a polyhedron, it's a cone. This one, polyhedron, and if you look back, you can recognize that this is a triangular prism. Okay? Now, here's where the math comes in. I suggest that you copy this into your notes. This is going to be a table that you have to know. You have to know the formulas for surface area and volume, but you also need to understand what those letters mean. When we were doing area and perimeter, length and width and height, those are things you guys have worked with before. We're going to get into a few things here with three-dimensional shapes that you have not worked with before. So when you see a capital letter P, that means you have to find the perimeter of the base before you can go on with the rest of that equation. A capital B means the area of the base. So you have to calculate the area before you can move on. H is height, and L is slant height. Really important that you don't mix these two up because they're very different, right? If we were looking here at this cone, the distance here is not the same as the distance here. So make sure when you're looking at an equation, you get the correct height, the regular height or the slant height. Okay? And then R is radius. We're pretty familiar with that one. So there are a couple of types of questions you'll see, and most commonly you're going to see they'll give you an image and ask you to calculate surface area and volume. What I want to point out to you is that you have to remember some of these require an additional computation. So if the surface area for a regular pyramid, which is what we're working with, is 1/2 capital P times L plus capital B. Well, P, we remember, is the perimeter of the base. So you have to find the perimeter first. Well, you know it's a square. So 6 here, 6 there, 6 there. That's how they got 24. L is the height. Sorry. L is the slant height. See, even I messed up. Plus the base, which is the area of the base. Okay? That's how they found surface area. So be aware on some of these, there are multiple steps. They're not just going to tell you what the perimeter is. You can figure it out. Okay? Volume, same thing. You have to know the area of the base and the height. So I've done this cylinder here because I want you to see that really it just comes down to getting the right numbers. So the first thing I did was I wrote down, okay, this is a cylinder. And the formula is that. And then I write down everything I know, everything I'm given in the problem. And then you just plug them in the correct places. Take the extra time to write all this down, especially when you're just getting started with this. It's very easy to make a mistake. So if we look at some of the practice problems, these are just like we were doing before. Is it a polyhedron or not? If so, what kind is it? What's its base? All of that, right? So in this one, obviously not a polyhedron. It is a cylinder, and its bases are A and B. This one is a polyhedron because all of its faces are flat. Its base is KLMN, and vertices would be any of those in there. Now, surface area and volume. Take the time and look back so that you get these formulas right. This is all about practice. Slow down, take the time. And that's it for today.